The Sega Genesis was an amazing 16-bit console, but it was quite limited by today's standards. The graphics and sounds were sometimes lackluster, but some developers were able to squeeze some amazing titles out of the system. Now I'm going to show you some of those showstopper games with mind-blowing graphics and sound, but I'm also going to show you some games that wowed us back in the day, either by its memory size, closest to the original arcade, or by its mere existence. Anyway, let's get started with a little The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Okay, yeah, this definitely fits that pushing the limits category, but does it really? It doesn't look like the Genesis is having much trouble with this game, actually. It's just that it was coded by a very clever team. The graphics are extremely detailed, but they do tend to repeat a lot. The music is pretty awesome, too. This one is a treat for the senses, but dang is it hard. Alien Soldier. Another one with some of the most detailed 16-bit graphics that I have ever seen. Music and sounds are just so amazing. Controlling your alien bird soldier could be a little tricky though, especially when you're switching weapons. Also, you need to learn that dash move or you just won't last very long. Occasionally I was able to weaken my enemies with that dash, but I have no idea what I did. This is a tough game, but it is definitely worth playing. Batman the video game. Another Batman? Now this is the first one where you're probably scratching your head. What's so mind-blowing about Batman? Well, let me tell you, back when Nintendo had a stranglehold on game licenses, getting Batman from Sunsoft on the Genesis, it just blew everybody away. Finally, we thought, we'll get more awesome games for the Genesis. The game itself is pretty good, but it's really the historical significance of the game that really matters. Castlevania Bloodlines. Wait, what is this? Super Nintendo? Nope. Isn't it crazy to think that a game so associated with Nintendo would appear on a Sega system? I mean, it's almost as if, Konami likes selling games and making money. Anyway, this is a great Castlevania game with fun gameplay and some pretty cool effects. I like this one where the stage is reflected in the water here. Also, what's cool is that you can play as not one, but two different characters. The whip-wielding John Morris, or the spear-swinging Eric Lacard. Or is that Lacarde? Each character makes the game a completely different experience, and definitely one not to be missed. Comix Zone. Isn't this the last Sega Genesis game released by Sega? I think it was. Such a clever idea for a game to take the role of a comic book artist and trap him in his own comic. The graphics look exactly like a comic book, complete with the panels and text balloons. Gameplay is pretty dang fun too, with lots of creative touches like smashing your enemies through the panels. I've always wanted to see the end of this one, but it's just way too tough for me. I mean, it really needed some continues. Contra Hardcore. Similar to Batman, this one shocked us way back then because of its mere existence. We never thought we'd see a Contra game, something that lived in Nintendo's domain, on the Genesis. Not to mention how graphically impressive this one is. Cool special effects make this one worth playing. But it is extremely hard, like many of the other Genesis games on this list. Duke Nukem 3D. Yeah, I know, this one only appeared in Brazil, but from what I understand, this is a licensed game, so it's legit. This one isn't really much like the original PC game, but check out the sorta kinda 3D Doom-style gameplay here. It's very fast and fairly smooth. I'm pretty sure the programmer is somehow scaling up a very small screen to get this to work, but, you know, who cares? Oh, and check this. It also has an on-screen map, just like Alien vs. Predator for the Atari Jaguar. Pretty cool. Earthworm Jim. Surely you know the story of Earthworm Jim. A spacesuit crash lands on a worm, giving him superpowers. I mean, that alone is a mind-blowing story. Okay, yeah, I get it, that's a reach, but look at the incredible animation here. And these super detailed graphics. And the sheer number of creative stages and game styles. An incredibly wacky, fun game that, yes, blew everyone's mind back then. Ghouls and Ghosts. Another head scratcher, right? Well, not when you put yourself back in 1989 when this game was released. Few games looked and played so close to their arcade counterparts. If you weren't looking at them side by side, you'd think the Genesis version was a one-to-one clone. Hey, stop that! I've never been a big fan of this one, but I remember how amazed EGM Magazine was with this game. Golden Axe. Similarly to Ghouls and Ghosts, this one also shocked Sega fans because of how close this one looked and played to the original arcade. Remember this ad?
Dave, we got your golden axe!
Sure, there's some concessions made back then, but we didn't care. We could actually play Golden Axe at home, and what a blast it was. I felt like I saved so much money by buying the Genesis game instead of the arcade machine. And you know, in a way, this game is better than the arcade because it has more stages. It's really amazing to me how they could shrink this game into that tiny cartridge. Gunstar Heroes. This one routinely gets mentioned in limit-pushing videos, doesn't it? I mean, rightly so. It's an awesome game. There's just so much going on. I mean, amazing graphics and sounds, detailed backgrounds and animation, and just really fun gameplay. This one definitely deserves to be mentioned along with classics like Contra and Metal Slug. It's just a literal blast to play, even on easy mode. Jurassic Park 2: The Lost World. Well, I heard this one has some cool gameplay elements. Let's try it out. I don't know, seems pretty boring for the most part. Ah, okay, here's a cool stage where you race a bike blasting enemies while trying to protect a dinosaur. And then there's this T-Rex stage where you shoot the T-Rex to save yourself? Then there's this raft stage where you're also shooting more dinos. What the heck? Am I supposed to be saving the dinosaurs or shooting them? I'm confused. Anyway, I do love how fast these special stages are. Very nice. There's definitely some amazing visuals here. I only wish the whole game was like the special stages. Kawasaki Superbike Challenge. 3D graphics without an SVP chip? Why, yes. In this one, you race on a motorcycle in a 3D environment, and it's pretty dang smooth and fast too. Okay, sure, it's not 60 frames per second, but it's totally playable. I like how the perspective tilts back when you take off as if you were doing a wheelie. Whoever programmed this definitely deserves some applause. Mercs. What's mind-blowing about Mercs, you might say? I don't know, I thought the graphics looked very realistic, especially that view of the canyon in front of the jet. Of course, I may be confusing that with the arcade version. Anyway, the rest of the game is very fun and quite similar to the arcade. Plus, you get an extra mode that makes the game even better. My favorite weapon is the flamethrower, and cooking enemies has just never been more fun. Mickey Mania, the timeless adventures of Mickey Mouse. Traveler's Tales coded this one, and it hits on all the creative cylinders. Graphics, sounds, music, and gameplay. I love how it starts off in this black and white style, taking the player through the different iterations of Mickey Mouse cartoons. There's also some very cool graphical effects here, like when the crane moves, or when you get chased by the moose, or when you're climbing down the tower. These effects are really cool. And the sound samples of Mickey's voice is just remarkably clear, especially for a Genesis game. Mortal Kombat, the series. No, not the television series, just the series of games. And you know the one thing that makes Mortal Kombat mind-blowing. It's the blood.
Get over here!
So yeah, when the original Genesis conversion was released, people were so excited because it contained the blood, unlike the Super Nintendo game. The graphics are okay, I mean, nothing fantastic, but what is fantastic is the fast gameplay of every game in the series. Mortal Kombat 2 has always been my favorite, but Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate really upped the ante in terms of graphics and fast action gameplay. Who would have thought that a game like this could appear on such limited hardware?
Outstanding.
Panorama Cotton. Here's one with some jaw-dropping effects. The Genesis doesn't have a Mode 7 per se, but it is a fast enough system to be able to fake it. The smooth sprite scaling is also very impressive. Yeah, okay, it's just different sizes of sprites being cycled out, but it's just so fast you don't even notice it at all. The music and sound effects are also very high quality. No gems here. If you want to show off what the Genesis can do, then this is the game to do it. Ranger X. Here's one that a lot of folks talk about for its amazing graphics, and I gotta say, they are very impressive. I especially like the scene in the tunnel where the perspective changes. The 3D wireframe graphics in between stages are also very well done, and I think a treat for the eyes. I mean, come on, we didn't see stuff like this very much back then. Another cool effect is when you fall down below the tree line in this stage. Okay, sure, it's probably just a palette change, but I still got a kick out of it. Oh, and check out this huge boss! Whoa! Red Zone. First off, I love the cutscene at the beginning. It's like having a full motion video, but just black on red. And then flying over the terrain is pretty cool, and I just love how there are these tall towers and stuff that always get in your way. Was that sarcastic enough? Yeah, they're annoying, but you know, they're also pretty cool looking. When we infiltrate the enemy base, there's this cool top-down view where the walls move along with the perspective. Really gives you a sense that you're looking down into the building. Oh yeah, and the music's pretty good too. Robocop versus the Terminator. Look at this. There's just some amazingly detailed graphics here. The animation on Robocop is fantastic, and check out the muzzle flash that appears on him. That's a pretty cool detail. And while the music is a little corny in the first stage, you can't deny the high quality of the voice. It's so crystal clear. The other thing that blows my mind about this one is the explosion of blood when you take out an enemy. Whoa. You even get bloody windows too. Sega really wanted to be edgy back then, didn't they? Rocket Knight Adventures. Now this is one awesomely fun game. Very colorful graphics, great sounds and music, and great gameplay. Oh, and lots of different stages and playstyles too. I really appreciate that because I get bored easily. You know, it's not often that all of these factors combine into the total package like this, so certainly that's the mind-blowing element here. It's just a really fun and great game. Maybe that's what's mind-blowing about it. There's so few super fun games on the Genesis. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Sonic and Knuckles. This one is a pretty dang cool cartridge. You can play it as is, or if you have Sonic 2 or 3, you can attach it to the game and play as Knuckles. That's awesome! Let's see if it works with Battletoads. No, unfortunately no, it doesn't work. You can do stuff in the previous games as Knuckles that you can't do as Sonic. Like, I don't know, float in midair, or climb the walls, or basically skip whole parts of a stage. That's pretty amazing. Even without the patented lock-on technology, this game is excellent. Unfortunately, though, I feel it's been overshadowed by the other Sonic games. Street Fighter II Special Champion Edition and Super Street Fighter II. I never thought we'd see Street Fighter II on the Genesis after it appeared on the Super Nintendo. I figured Nintendo had that one all locked up. But once that license issue was straightened out, we started seeing games like this appear on both systems. And thank goodness. Did you really want to see Nintendo monopolize the gaming landscape forever? I always thought that the Street Fighter games on Genesis looked exactly like the arcade, and yeah, they are very, very close. But again, what's even more important than how they look is how they play, and both of these games are just really, really fun. The only downside for both is the scratchy voice, but I've come to find that endearing. Streets of Rage 2 and 3. Come on, you knew these games are incredible in terms of graphics, sounds, music, and gameplay. Not only did they blow players away, but they blew away the competition. Final Fight? Really? Streets of Rage 2 is arguably the greatest brawling game of all time. There's just so many moves that you can perform with just a few buttons. And all those moves, they just make sense. I mean, it's not like you have to hold multiple buttons at once and press some strange directional sequence. Part 3 is also a lot of fun, but some of the settings and the music are a little odd. Definitely two of the most amazing Sega Genesis games ever created. Strider. This is one that blew a lot of people away just because of the sheer size of the game. 8 mega power. That's the contents of about a single floppy disk. I remember thinking back then, man, this must be an awesome game if it uses that much memory. But this one does look and play very much like the original arcade game, and even today, it's always ranked as one of the better arcade ports for the Genesis. In fact, Zian042 on the GameSpot forums once wrote, what they squeezed out of the hardware at the time was mind-blowing. See, I'm not the only one who thought this game was mind-blowing. Toy Story.
To infinity and beyond!
Another game by Traveler's Tales. Man, these guys made some awesome games, didn't they?
Hello, bread!
The first stage has some pretty cool perspective effects. Check that out. Then there's some stages where you drive RC from a tap-down view, which is cool, but the controls suck. But I do like this one where you're hiding in a cup and the giant kids pass by. Whoa! Then there's the 3D maze game, which is totally incredible to be running on this limited hardware. Finally, there's this great behind-the-car racing stage with a texture-mapped road. Man, they really pulled out all the stops in this game. Vectorman 1 and 2. These games are cool because of the pre-rendered graphics and interesting animations. And no, this is nothing like Donkey Kong Country. Vectorman can morph into different configurations thanks to his Balls 3D-esque body. Also, it's fun to see what's next in the background department. There's always some detailed graphics on the horizon to amaze the player. Check out this section where the light is shining through the water. Also, this is pretty cool how this bamboo thing is being rolled out. And then this stage here has a tornado in the background. That's totally awesome. Virtua Racing. Okay, this is cheating quite a bit, but hey, the Super Nintendo cheated with Star Fox, so I think we can cheat with this one. Because there's really no way that the Genesis alone could pull off 3D graphics this fast. It needed a special chip. Or maybe it could. No, never mind. Anyway, this is my favorite racer on the Genesis. It's very fast and very fun as you zip along on a 3D polygon racetrack. The benefit of this game being in 3D is that you can also change your perspective behind the car. This one blew a lot of people away, if for nothing else than the incredibly high price tag. I think this one went for $80 back in the day. You know, if only Sega had created some kind of an add-on with that SVP chip in it. Oh well. World Series Baseball. Another one of those, what's so mind-blowing about this game? Well, let me tell you, it's the size of the batter, the inclusion of every MLB team and stadium, and the tons of voice samples.
Now batting for the Cardinals, the shortstop, number 1.
Oh yeah, and the different modes too. You get Exhibition, League, Playoff, Batting Practice, Home Run Derby, and Classic Home Run Derby.
A long drive! That's onto Waveland Avenue!
Oh, and there are Legends teams in the game so that you can play as Babe Ruth if you want.
He drops it over the infield.
Now batting for the Devil Rays, the right fielder, number 11.
All of this adds up to one mind-blowing baseball game and my favorite on the Genesis. Zero Tolerance. Back when Doom was popular, everyone rushed to create their own 3D perspective shooter. Sure, computers of the day could handle those games, but the Genesis?
Handgun collected.
So it was shocking when this first 3D perspective shooter was released. Everyone was talking about it, even if it only took up half the screen. And you know, it's not too bad, a little sluggish, but playable.
Ammunition is low. Handgun collected.
What I like about it is how the walls are fully textured instead of being so plain. Oh, and there's no ceiling, so you get to see that cool outer space background. Yeah, this one definitely amazed players back in the day. One of the earliest instances of a mind-blowing game for the Genesis. Okay, so there you go, a bunch of mind-blowing games for the Sega Genesis. Not every game needs to be a graphical showstopper to be mind-blowing. Anyway, which of these games blew your mind back then? Please let me know down in the comments. With all that said, I want to thank you for watching, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everyone.